Whoa. And we are back with another video, not one pertaining to anything specific. I told you guys I've been working on a kickboxing / Muay Thai script for a while now, and this is that video. We're going to be talking about it right now for any of you who are casuals or do not understand where you can watch Muay Thai or anything about Muay Thai. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the world of kickboxing and Muay Thai. Muay Thai, considered by many as the best kickboxing style on the planet, actually MMA kind of helped reintroduce this martial art to the American audience, at least more mainstream, and how effective it is in a fight. Known as the art of 8 limbs, Muay Thai, where competitors learn to utilize shins for powerful kicks, knees for devastating strikes, punches for precision and setups, and elbows to cut and dismantle. I personally actually discovered Muay Thai at like age 12. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was a middle schooler who was huge into anime and manga, and there was this one series that I actually got into, both anime and manga, that was called History's Strongest Disciple, Kenichi. And I fell in love with this one particular character known as Apachai Hopachai, and he was known as the Thailand underground Muay Thai god of death. And from there, the moment I fell in love with that character, the moment I fell in love with his style, I immediately became fascinated with Muay Thai. I searched for videos during what was like the early days of YouTube, where it was just like you have to like dig deep for things, and I was just constantly watching Muay Thai after Muay Thai, guys kicking steel beams, Muay Thai practitioners kicking banana trees, them competing in Muay Thai stadiums, and just I immediately fell in love. And that was like the only way to actually watch the sport at the time. Essentially, my obsession transformed into action, and I was able to find and I joined a Muay Thai gym at the time known as Boston Muay Thai. A few years later, I think I was like 15 or 16, now known as Hard Knocks Muay Thai, a gym that I'm still proudly a part of and still rep to this day, that are actually helping train a couple of pro MMA fighters, Rob Font and Calvin Cater. Essentially, joining this Muay Thai gym and joining this culture as a whole thrusted me into my love for combat sports, where I learned Western boxing. I learned Muay Thai, obviously. I learned some Dutch kickboxing because obviously they've interlooped and mingled together. And then I've met some of my closest friends that I'm still friends with to this day. Now I want to be here and sit here and share that with you. I want to share what I've learned about the sport of Muay Thai and its culture. And we're going to start first where you can watch these competitors compete in this amazing striking sport. Which promotion should we start first? I say what is considered the #1 North American promotion, Lion Fight, full Muay Thai rules. Even though it's considered the #1 Muay Thai North American sanctioned promotion, actually it's kind of the only one, so it has really no choice but to be. There are a few smaller ones, obviously, but unless you're involved with the Muay Thai scene as deeply, you wouldn't know about them. In my opinion though, learn about the biggest one, kind of work your way down to the more independent, hidden promotions that are, while Lion Fight is not as organized as the UFC or One Championship with a ranking system and such, I think that's what's the appeal to the organization. They bring a ton of outside talent that you probably will never know about until you see them perform against our North and South America's best, especially from like, you get talents from Asia, Europe, where the scene of Muay Thai is much bigger and the level of competition is much higher. This obviously is in an attempt by Lion Fight to help bring up the American Muay Thai scene up to par with the rest of the world, because unfortunately we're kind of behind. Kind is an understatement. We're sorely behind. I mean, in my opinion, if it wasn't for MMA, the sport would have very little following here besides a few hardcore fans like myself who've been there for a longer period of time. I've been a fan since I was a kid. But there are a number of fighters that are well known that were actually that came out of Lion Fight and actually have gone to join much bigger promotions and become ranked champions and ranked fighters. You have some fighters have joined Glory, the biggest kickboxing promotion, the most known on the planet. Some have gone to join Muay Thai Grand Prix, which is a huge, I will be talking about that later, but that's a huge Muay Thai promotion in Europe. Some have gone to join One Championship, which is a huge 3-style promotion in terms of fighting for kickboxing, Muay Thai, and MMA. And even UFC and Bellator. Some well-known names you probably will know is Chris Cyborg fought for Lion Fight at one point. The Shevchenko sisters have both fought for Lion Fight at one point in their careers as well. You have Gaston Balamos, the Dream Killer, who's part of Bellator. You have Onion Topic, who's I think he's a former one championship fighter. I'm not sure if he's on the ranking system anymore. Smoking Joe Natawat, who recently just fought in one championship. Charlie Peters. There's so many. Liam Harrison. These are all huge names in the Muay Thai scene that have all previously fought out of this promotion at one point. And what's great now is all the Lion Fight events you can now see on UFC Fight Pass. So if you're already a hardcore UFC fan and you have Fight Pass, you shouldn't be missing out. They're Friday nights. They're usually only a few hours long. They have a number of different talents come on. I mean, you could be scoping out so much future talent and prospects for future MMA promotions, because we know UFC, Bellator, they pick from some of these striking promotions in order to get better strikers and more. Look at Izzy. Israel Adesanya originally started as a kickboxer and Muay Thai practitioner before fighting on a number of Asian cards, Asian promotions in China, before he became anywhere near what he is today as Israel Adesanya, the style bender. Let's move on to another promotion. I could be talking about Lion Fight all day and the talent that comes out of there. The biggest organization, and it's mostly kickboxing, but it hosts Muay Thai fighters, but just not full Muay Thai rules. Glory, I mentioned it earlier. Glory Kickboxing, which has rules for knees. You're allowed to knee. You're limited clinch, which I think the clinch is only for a moment before the ref breaks it up. They don't want too much clinching like originally in Muay Thai. And then obviously no elbows allowed. Glory's more or less overall a kickboxing organization before anything else. So it includes karate, taekwondo styles, boxing, mixing the striking styles. Some focus more specific than others. Everyone's different when they come into Glory with their own personal approach, similar to MMA, but less clinching and obviously no wrestling or BJJ. It's essentially mixed martial arts striking. Knees are legal, just no Muay Thai elbows or no elbows at all. Now, you may be wondering, I'm talking about Muay Thai. Well, which is a kickboxing style, so why am I including Glory, which doesn't allow Muay Thai rules? I include it because it falls under the umbrella of including Muay Thai fighters to its promotion. So in terms of a kickboxing promotion, Glory trumps Lion Fight because it has a bigger organization on a more international level, and then includes those Thai fighters to gain more notoriety. I mean, it's basically as big as one championship and Yokkao. Actually, we'll talk about Yokkao later, but Yokkao is another huge organization that also kind of is worldwide, or trying to attempt to become worldwide. I actually have Yokkao gloves in the background if you see them over there. But essentially, they hold events all over the world and have multiple champions spanning from featherweight to heavyweight, and with a full ranking system and everything. You can literally go onto their website and learn all about their fighters, go onto any of their stuff and learn tons about their organization. It's super easy to be a part of. They show you full ranking systems, top 15s, champions, current champions, former champions, and it's everything you can learn in a very simple way, similar to the UFC. So it's very easy to be a part of. It's that's something Lion Fight lacks and hasn't really had a grasp on, but again, they're useful for a different reason. Lion Fight gives more exposure to international fighters that are not contracted to these huge organizations. Glory is when you make a big enough name to become a ranked world-class kickboxer. Now, in the EU circuit, I mentioned this earlier, the Mtgp, also known as the Muay Thai Grand Prix. This is basically a European-based Muay Thai promotion with full Muay Thai rules that you'll mostly see the European fighters, Middle Eastern fighters, and Asian talents participate in. Held primarily in the UK out of the O2 Arena, Mtgp is more well known for its up-to-date version of Lion Fight, essentially. The reason being is Muay Thai is a lot bigger in the EU and Australia. Muay Thai is essentially bigger there and they're more prevalent and have blended more with the culture than the North Americans have, having had a really strong relationship and connection with the origin of Muay Thai in Thailand. And for some reason, it's a sport that really kicked off and just jumped off the pages in Europe. For some reason, it really struck out. It also could be that the Europeans have their own form of kickboxing, so it's been all meshed up and blended together. Some of the best Muay Thai fighters in the world and competitors in the world have actually come out of those parts. Liam Harrison, Charlie Peters, Giorgio Petrosian, Regan Urso from Holland. Holland has produced some of the greatest kickboxers on the planet, and some considered to be better than even Thai fighter kickbox. They blow the North American competition out of the waters, and they really compete against the Thais. But again, I don't want to shit on the American Muay Thai scene. I'm part of that scene. I am an American Muay Thai practitioner. I'm just not a professional. We are behind compared to these guys, and we really want to catch up to them. So competing and seeing these guys and watching them grow and us growing alongside them is a very good way for us to grow with the sport and catch up. Now, for promotions that are the biggest and most known coming out of Thailand and the motherland of Muay Thai, these are some promotions you would like to look out for. Obviously, probably the biggest one is the promotion is Yokao, and I'll show you guys gloves. I actually got these on a what do they call them? So Sanchai, for those of you who aren't familiar, Sanchai came and did a what do you call it? A seminar in Boston, Massachusetts, and Hard Knocks Muay Thai held them. I'll show you a picture of me with Sanchai as well, who's considered like the godfather of Muay Thai for his ability to be an amazing Muay Thai practitioner. But essentially, Yokao is it's a mix between a gym and a traveling promotion where they host seminars as well as they host seminars and fighting events, as well as they lead in spreading the sport around the world to help make it one of Thailand's top commodities. They sign some of the greatest known Muay Thai talents. They compete both to help sell out shows, as well as Muay Thai as a product. Then you have Max Muay Thai, which is another one. This is mostly a promotion, not the same as Yokao in a sense. This one that is held on a huge stage in Thailand out of Pattaya. And Max Muay Thai is mostly just pure Muay Thai. They're just not as well known as Yokao, but they definitely have a much more diverse pool. And the last two I'll mention, stationed out of Thailand, are Lupini Stadium, which is the most known in Thailand and mostly outside of Thailand, and is located in the heart and soul of Bangkok, and is also run by the Royal Army, the Thai Royal Army. I'm going to fully say that, the Thai Royal Army. All the local talent can kind of get their name and get themselves out there. And last but not least, and I might butcher this name, Rashadamnen Stadiums, which is held by the large local gym known as Chuatana Boxing Camp, all of which you can catch their fights online or on Channel 7 and which is on the Channel 7 Facebook page. They host them live, and they show all of the fights coming out of Lupini Stadium. Now, there is one more promotion that falls under Muay Thai competition, even though it's known as MMA. That's One Championship, the direct competitor of UFC and Bellator. Now, if you're confused because UFC and Bellator are MMA promotions, this is mostly because they aren't solely an MMA promotion. They're just most known for their MMA. One Championship actually has Muay Thai and kickboxing. And because One Championship is a fighting promotion that hosts this stuff, I have to mention them here. They're stationed out of Southeast Asia and are less about spectacle and more about honor and legacy in competition. It usually doesn't grab the casual American audience for obvious reason. We love the drama behind the belt. So much talent outside of the US market in One Championship, and in some cases may even be better than what the US provides in UFC and Bellator. But that's an argument for another day. You can do a whole video on the levels of competition outside of the UFC. I know certain people think the UFC has the best fighters on the planet. That might not 100% be true, especially with the amount of talent that doesn't get the level because they don't have that spectacle behind them. They don't get the opportunity. But that's, again, an argument for another day. One Championship, though, is probably the best Muay Thai promotion that is internationally known, pulling talents from all over the world to compete at the highest level and to be placed in their ranking system. I mentioned Smokin' Joe Natawat, who used to be in Lion Fight. He's now in One Championship. Giorgio Petrosian, the greatest #1 top kickboxer on the planet, more or less against Superbond now. Also One Championship. Regan Urso, Lion Fight, used to beat Smokin' Joe Natawat, beat a number of fighters out of Lion Fight, still undefeated to this day, beat Nikki Holtzen, and he is on one championship. John Hagerty, one of the greatest Muay Thai practitioners out of, I think he's from England. I know he's from Europe. I don't remember what country. He could be Irish, but again, one of the greatest. Yotzen Clyde, the boxing computer, considered one of the greatest lefty Muay Thai fighters on the planet. They even have Demetrius Johnson now with that trade. Even though he's in MMA, they traded him for Ben Askren. He is still there, and he's gonna fight a Muay Thai fighter in like a half Muay Thai, half MMA event in a couple months. With who was that? So many names to remember. Oh no, it's Rod Tang. He's gonna fight Rod Tang. What am I saying? He's gonna fight Rod Tang, who is a Muay Thai practitioner. Yeah. And then who I argued had the knockout of the year against Giorgio Petrosian in 2021, Rod Tang is also in one championship as a Muay Thai practitioner. So again, some of the best fighters, especially Muay Thai and kickboxers, are here. And these guys are real top class champion level fighters in Muay Thai. And they came from all over these other promotions, including the UFC. The only downside to one championship is that it's all the way on the other side of the world. The fights happen at 7 a.m. on a Friday morning because obviously the time difference. It's Saturday night for them, it's nighttime for them on a Friday morning for us, and it's during the work week. That's honestly the worst part because the American work week style does not correlate with where they put their promotions and stuff like that. I know they've been trying to do more stuff on like USA, the channel USA, and having promotions in the middle of the week on a Wednesday night and stuff like that, which is probably better, honestly, better than a 7 a.m. showing, right? But again, it's still difficult for them to get their promotion over here as much because of the levels of competition with Bellator and UFC. They be competing with a lot, including boxing too. In my opinion though, one championship kickboxing and Muay Thai may be the best in the world to get on as a competitive Muay Thai and kickboxing fighter. Now, all these are the main promotions around the world you can check out to see a diversity in kickboxing and Muay Thai practitioners. I hope you guys seek out some of these promotions and check out some of the Muay Thai superstars that compete all over them. Thank you guys for watching this video. I truly appreciate it for your time. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please share, subscribe, and follow our social media, all that amazing stuff. I'll have that right here, and we will see you guys on the next one. Adios, guys.